Oh. This is Brian. I'm with Root Cause. Today we have a partially fallen alder tree. The top of it is broken out. It's got hung up in a big maple tree hanging over this walking trail here, and we've got to get it out and get it down on the ground safely because it's a real hazard to pedestrians. My hope and plan is that by cutting the trunk and letting the trunk falls straight down, the top disconnects and swings that way, and then the gravity just pulls it straight down out of the maple tree. Sometimes happens, rarely, but what could happen is that it's so intertwined in there that it swings and then just gets hung up, and then I'm gonna have to climb the maple to cut it out. That's very unlikely based on what I'm seeing from here, but it does happen. So. If you look at the 40, 50-foot stem of the alder that remains, it appears to me that the top is still connected and is pulling it that way, okay? So what we want is we want to make sure that it has no temptation to come back this way. We can do so by making an open face cut on that side where I want it to fall. And then if I just come from this side and make a cut from the back, it should just pull it over and let gravity do the rest. Before I do anything, before I cut into the tree at all, I have to create an exit path for myself. You have to be prepared when you're doing this that you could lose your saw. Obviously, you'd rather lose your saw than lose something worse. If the thing starts to come down really fast, what I got to do is just drop the saw and run, and I'm fully prepared to do it. But if you get a look at the trunk of the alder, you see all those mushrooms there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. That tells you that type of a mushroom is just going to grow on dead or decaying wood. So the tree was a hazard, which is why it snapped up there. It's not common for trees to snap halfway up unless they have a real structural weakness. It's common for trees to uproot or to fail at crotches, but not just at to prepare to take down a tree like this, you got to spend a lot of time assessing it. And again, it is so dangerous, I can't possibly climb it. I'm not eager to climb the tree that it's hung up in because even that's dangerous. My option there would be to climb the maple as is. If I were to climb the maple now to get that top out, I would have to get in there, and then I would have to undercut a limb from the maple that's holding the top of the alder. Well, then what happens is then the entire alder is going to swing. Maybe nothing happens, or maybe it swings and then it can hit me, and that's not good. The whole situation is dangerous, and this is the safest way. This is not exactly a safe job, but this is the safest way to get this tree down. Here's your tree. It's standing upright, okay? We want to, and now, because its top is broken out, it's leaned a little bit this way. What does that tell you? It's got more compression on the downhill side, right? The wood is flexing on the uphill side, it's compressing on the downhill side. So everything is pushing on the downhill side. That's where we want it to fall. It's pushing that way. The wood is compressing there. That's why you make what we call an open face cut or a pie cut. You cut a section of it out, probably in this case as much as half of the trunk. You cut halfway through it, then you come and you cut it on an angle so that you got an opening. Okay, so you're on the side where your wood is compressed. So then when you come on the back side and the thing continues to pull that way, it's got a place to go. It closes that gap and eventually breaks off and falls that way. That keeps it from
Oh no.
What happened with the truck? Didn't see that coming. I mean, that thing, look at it. I mean, literally, so what that
Yeah,
tells
to
me,
go this way.
right, and so you know what that tells me? Because I had a pie cut. Yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing left of this hinge. I mean, there is nothing left of the hinge, and that's why I kept getting exasperated, because what I wanted was to go right there, okay? And if you can look closely, you can see where this ridge is, okay? This was where I came through and had the open face pie cut, okay? So, and then I came from the backside at 90 to 180 degrees from that, okay? So if the thing had simply fallen with its, you know, in the opening, with its opening, it would have gone right through there, which is what I wanted, right? But where did it go? It ended up 50 degrees away from that. Why did that happen? I'm gonna tell you why. Because the top was pushing it back. I was concerned in the beginning about the top, you know, pushing it back. And in fact, it was pushing it back. Wasn't pushing it back enough that it was just gonna go ding back that way, but it pushed it back, you know, substantially. Because it had a little bit of a lean that way, but it's still, when that top started to let go, it pushed it back. And that's why I was just, I couldn't tell what it was. I mean, I just kept cutting and cutting it. There should be what we call a hinge of wood, like if it's an open fall situation where there's no above ground hazards, you're going to make this pie cut or face cut, and then you're going to come on from the backside, and you're going to have a hinge of wood that's pulling. And when you're done, you'll see that thing standing up like a kerf, or just like a broken off piece. It'll be 2-3 inches high probably, or sometimes more. I got no hinge left at all. I literally had to cut all the way through the trunk of this tree because the thing was pushing, the top was pushing it against it so much that it wouldn't fall. In fact, actually, no, look again. I got this dead wrong. That's why there's this tiny bit of hinge left. The actual, this was about 1/3 of the trunk, okay? So it was right. This is not the back side, this is the back. So you see that line there? That's why this hinge wood is, because the hinge wood is going to be on the back side. And you know. But also, you see all this discoloration. That tells you this, just for lack of a better term, it's just indicators of decay. And so the less green wood you have, the less live tissue you have, the more the cellular structure is broken down, the more likely it is to behave unpredictably. So if you see something like this, a hazard tree or a partially fallen tree that presents a hazard to buildings or pedestrians, just give me a call.